What's Good podcast.
Are you ready?
Hey, ladies and gents, this is your girl Brianna Javon, and we are here with another episode of What's Good podcast, and we are still in season 5. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode with me. As you guys know, we do not have interviews. Instead, we have genuine conversations. So, are you ready, John?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So, as you just heard, I have another guest with me from the film industry. Shout out to Ashley with D Plus Magazine. She actually referred him. So, thank you for connecting us.
Thank you, Ashley.
And we are here to get into your business.
Let's do it. I'm here for it. I'm an open book.
Nice. So, we always start off with an icebreaker.
Okay.
So, your icebreaker is, and we did one earlier, I think with Daria, we did one with her, but this one is opposite.
Okay.
So how do you think being an entrepreneur has hindered you from becoming a better person?
Ooh. So I don't think it's hindered me from becoming a better person. I think it has really shown me what it's like to be able to roll up your sleeves and create out of thin air. And then, like, honestly, because I'm a full-time entrepreneur,
Wow.
if I don't go to work, I don't eat. I'm a big boy. So
We need a meal.
listen, a couple of them. So it has really, it hasn't hindered me from being a better person at all. Now, what it has hindered probably, if I'm going to be honest, is like my social life and quasi love life. But, a better person, I don't know.
Okay, so I kind of want to get into that.
Let's
As
do
you
it.
mentioned, being a 24-hour
Mhm.
entrepreneur,
Mhm.
right? How do you, or are you, creating that balance for you to have social life? Because sometimes family members like, you so busy. That's why we don't call you no more because you too busy. Or friends like, we knew you was going to come anyway, right?
Right.
So what does that look like to learn how to balance? Or even if it's worth your time, no shade. But sometimes it's like, I don't need to go out sometimes because I do need to work on this particular project. It's called priorities.
Yeah, it
So what
is.
does that discussion look like when people do say, hey, come through, or
Yeah.
I already knew you wasn't going to come.
Right. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. I've missed out on a lot of family times. I've missed out on a lot of friends moments. Missed out on a lot of trips because I'm on set. I'm in rehearsals. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I got a production meeting. I literally want a shirt that says I can't. I have rehearsal.
Because lifestyle, right?
It is like legit. That's my story. But it pays off in the end. And then I work hard, but I play hard. So I will take time. I just got back from South Africa for my birthday.
Beautiful.
So when I work hard because I like to play hard. And so I make sure that there is some kind of balance in there. But even in South Africa, I was legit on my laptop working. But I wasn't the whole time. But I still made sure that things happened. And things were still moving along. So you find a balance. It just depends on what's best for you and what you're comfortable with.
So, okay, last follow-up question. Do you set time aside every year, or is it sometime random for vacations or self-care or whatever that may look like?
Yeah, it's random. And it tends to work itself out because I travel a lot for work too.
Okay.
So those points for airline hotels, they come in handy. So I usually okay, well, let me find some time. I run to New York, go see a couple shows on Broadway. I run to LA, to go hang out and don't tell anybody I'm there. I go to Atlanta to my best friend and be like, yo, I'm just gonna lay on your couch and we're gonna sit here and we're gonna watch movies and we just gonna veg out. But I find those moments in between, and it's not scheduled. It's not like I'm gonna do this every year at this time. I'm not that person at all.
Okay.
I'm super random. So it'll be like, you know what? Next week I think I want to go to Atlanta. Yeah, and I'm like, what's a cheap ticket? Boom, I'm going.
Right. Because I feel like when you mentioned when it comes to tickets, it's easier to do it randomly because it'd be cheaper closer to the time versus you trying to plan it out.
Right.
But I digress. So let's get into the conversation.
Okay.
So usually we start off with every question saying who is the guest. So for you, who is Jiles King?
So Jiles King is a Dallas native.
Okay.
Born and raised straight up through Dallas Independent School District. Left Dallas, graduated from the Townview High School.
Yes, it's not like a creative school.
It's a business school.
Gotcha. Okay.
I went to the non-business school inside of it. I went to Talented and Gifted, so it was a college prep school.
Okay.
Left there, went to Morehouse in Atlanta.
Come on, HBCU.
Yeah, HBCU all day. Came back, worked, then left there and went to Columbia University in New York for theater producing and management, came back. And then since then, I've been on this cultural curator journey. I really, really enjoy curating cultural moments for people and for society.
That's beautiful. So I kind of want to tap into you moving, like you mentioned, born and raised in Dallas, but you decided to go to Georgia, Morehouse, right? So what made you say, okay, I know this is something that I want to do? Or did you start, let me stop. Did you go in theater in high school and then you were like, okay, let me go further this?
So let me take you back further.
Okay.
So I tell the story, and it's sometimes a joke, but I really think it's serious. So my dad's a Baptist pastor.
Okay.
And my mom is Jesus' secretary. So
I love it.
So I legit,
strong roots.
right, strong roots in the church. So I legit believe that I played baby Jesus in the manger.
Okay.
So this entertainment stuff has been in my blood since birth.
Gotcha.
My uncle was a professional dancer. It's rumored also that he wrote one of Michael Jackson's hits, and they stole it and gave it to Michael. I mean, that was the rumor. That's the rumor in the family. That he was singing "Beat It" before Michael was. But so entertainment's been in my family. So when I got to high school, I was already doing entertainment. I was filming stuff, producing myself, and then I said, "Yo, I'm gonna go to Morehouse." People were like, "You want to go to Morehouse? You going all the way to Atlanta?" I was like, "Yes, I want to go to Morehouse." I had read that Bill Cosby's son, Ennis Cosby, when he got killed, that he went to Morehouse.
That's right.
And I was reading the story and it just started to spin out like, oh, that's where I wanted to go. That's what I ended up doing. Yeah.
So was it just like that particular story that encouraged you, or was it like the programs from Morehouse?
It was honestly, that story is what sparked it.
Gotcha.
And then I began to look at like Martin Luther King went there, Samuel L. Jackson. And I was like, wow, they're training all these great black men in leadership. I knew nothing about Atlanta. I mean, I've never been. I didn't go until probably a month before I moved on the campus. But it was really about the history of Morehouse and being able to walk those same halls in that same yard that all these amazing black men walked, and then the leadership that steps out of that program.
What would be one emotion you felt when you stepped on the grounds of Morehouse?
Scared. I was shook.
Wow, because you felt the pressure?
Well, it was everything. So like, first of all, so I went to Townview. Townview had a lot of black people, but my program tag, I was one of maybe 7 in our program, in our year. And so like, I wasn't around a lot of black people, and I've never been around that many men. And then it was like, I was at Morehouse, and then Dr. King went to Morehouse. So it was all these things, and then like in freshman orientation, it feels like you're pledging a fraternity. They have all the men dressed in suits all around, like all the upperclassmen, and you have to walk through the line, and you're just like, what is going on here? But like all those moments, like, I mean, it's been 20 years since I left Morehouse, and like I still smile about that, that moment of the history. So I was nervous. I was super scared. I didn't know what I was going into. It was the first time being that far away from home by myself. I didn't have any family, any friends in Atlanta, like nothing. I think I was one other classmate that went to Morehouse as well, and we were cool, but like, we weren't like best friends. So yeah, it was a moment of like, where am I? What am I? I even tried to leave my first year.
Really? Okay, so let's dive into that. What, like, was it even more pressure added on it, like, as you're into the program? Or was it like, I'm just missing home at this point?
So really what it was, honestly, and I'm so glad I didn't leave, but my roommate, like, we're cool now, but my roommate, like, I never knew dudes could be, 1, messy, and 2, nasty.
Ooh.
I wasn't raised that way. Joe, don't watch this part, but my frat brother too. That's the funny part. Right. You the homie, man. But like, dudes were like messy on the floor. Like I felt it was gossip, so much gossip going on about stuff, and then like just like dudes, like bathroom was nasty, our room was nasty. I was like, yo, I wasn't raised like this at all. Like, what is going on? And so it was a lot of times that I would go to. I had a friend there. We became friends. I would just go off campus and stay there.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't deal with it. And so I was like, you know what? This is too black. This is too much. I'm applying to UT Austin. They gave me a full ride. I should have just went there anyway. And let me tell you how God works, though. So legit, Morehouse sent my transcripts a day late. And UT said, no, you didn't meet our deadlines.
So it was kind of like you mentioned at the very beginning, it's like a full circle of everything that's coming together that you were where you were supposed to be.
Where I was supposed to be. And I'm so glad I didn't leave, because those next 3 years were so transformative for me.
Okay, let's talk about the transformation.
I legit grew up in Atlanta. I moved to Atlanta at 17.
Yeah.
My
I
mama
can
and daddy
understand
did not know what they were doing sending me to Atlanta at 17.
that. You have a little bit too much time.
Listen, my mother doesn't know this story, but I legit, my dad called me mid-semester, my first semester, and he was like, "We got your grades, and if you don't change them by the time you come home for Christmas, I'm coming to grab you."
Mm.
Listen, I pulled a 1.7 up to a 3.2.
Not a
I had a
You was in
1.7.
the book.
Listen, but I was partying that first like 2.5 months. I was getting it.
Because like you mentioned, you Kappa,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So was that sophomore?
Senior.
That was senior year. Okay, so you were just having fun out the gate.
I mean, like walking on campus, like, but it was my first time being away from home, and my parents love them to death, and I understand why. But like, we couldn't do nothing. Like, I couldn't listen to K104. I couldn't go to parties. It was none of that.
I see.
Yeah, so like, I was like, yo, it's a bus that pull up in front of campus to take us to the club. Let's go. Right.
I love that. Okay, so I want to talk about your very first production. Was that in high school? Like you mentioned, it goes way further back than high school, right? Yeah. But I want to talk about that time where you were like, ooh, I can do this.
Very good. So my very good question. My first production was, oh wow, it was actually a Christmas Carol. Soulful Tale. That's what I called it. I titled it.
That.
Yeah, so it was a black version of a Christmas Carol. I had a female Scrooge. I had it was like a trio of singers. It was a lot of fun, and like it was a 3-day production. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I did it at the Black Academy of Arts and Letters downtown Dallas, and like it was so much fun. Like we literally had to bring in chairs because it was that many people wanted to see the show.
So, okay, you've been to Atlanta, New York, but you brought it back home.
Yes.
Why is that? Because the first thing I think of when I think about Broadway, theater, film, I think about New York. I don't even think about Los Angeles for whatever reason. Maybe because that's like just more so film and movies.
Film and TV, yeah.
Okay, so when I think about Broadway, I think about New York. Yep. So why move it home versus, I mean, you were there.
I was in New York. Listen, I was in New York and I was loving New York.
New York is a vibe.
Listen, it's a whole vibe.
Yeah,
it's a whole vibe. And not only that, but also I was working on Broadway. I was working for Disney on Broadway.
I saw that. Okay, I did see that.
Yep, I was working for Disney on Broadway. And so, like, I got an amazing opportunity in Dallas. I worked, like I said, I was working for the Black Academy of Arts and Letters where I did the Christmas show. I left there. I taught at Skyline High School for a couple of years, and then I moved to New York. Jiles King, the founder, came to New York and said, I'm ready to retire. I want you to take the reins. And I said, nope, I'm staying in New York.
Okay, so I have to know that emotion because he's a legend in Dallas.
A legend. And I studied under him and still kind of study under him for, at that point, it was probably like 9 years. Yeah.
And for him to say, I'm passing the torch down to you, what was that like? Like, I know for me, I've been like, wait a minute.
Yeah, so we've had conversations about it before.
Okay, so he's kind of grooming you.
Yeah, he was grooming me a little bit, and like I was still like studying under him, producing under him. You know, we would go to dinner and lunch and have conversations. So it was like it wasn't surprising when he said that. It's still a huge mantle to take on because I mean, like you said, he is a Dallas legend. He's been doing this for 45 years at this point. But it was a challenge that I was up to. I was like, I'm ready. Like, I really want to put my stamp and my spin on Dallas. And so, when I finally said yes, because of in the beginning, I said, there's no way, no how, like, it's not happening. I'm not leaving New York. I'm not leaving to New York till I'm 60, 65, and I retire back in Dallas. Listen, I said, I'm giving you 20, 25 years. Let me hustle in the city, then I'll move back when I'm ready to retire. But God said no. I told God, and you have to be careful what you ask God. Because I said, God, I have these 3 opportunities. One was the Black Academy, one was Disney, and one was at the Black Theater in Harlem. And I said, I know, right? Yeah, listen. And so I had an opportunity. I had great interviews. I was the last candidate for both of these. And I already had Black Academy in the pocket. And so I said, God, whatever you don't want me to have, I want you to close every door. Legit. I got a phone call from the recruiter, probably let's say 11 o'clock a.m. When it came from the recruiter, I knew I didn't get the job. because the theater would have called me. So he was like, yeah, they went with somebody who had the actual title. You have all the experience, more experience, but they wanted somebody with the title. Cool, okay. I still got Disney. I'm working at Disney. Of course, I'm a shoo-in. I got it.
Right.
So I went to lunch, came back, and they said, I got an email while I was on the train going back, and it said, you were overqualified for this position.
So
this same day.
So me being the spiritual person that I am, some people would have took that and been like, dang, I'm out here, nothing is working for me. Why do I have to move back home? So I want to know, when you received those no's, and like you mentioned, you prayed for that closed door.
And he slammed it.
So what was your attitude? Now I want to know, let's go deeper into it. What was that prayer like to say, okay, God, I hear you, I see you, let me go ahead and pack these bags? Yeah, so legit, like I had prayed that for New York. When I applied to Columbia, I said, I'm not applying to any of the schools. I'm going to send this application in, and if it's meant for me to be, do it. When I got my interview, I said, God, I don't have a ticket, I don't have a plane ticket, I don't have a hotel, but I'm going to this interview. Called my best friend. I was like, I need a plane ticket. He said, here's a buddy pass. I called one of my friends from college, and he worked at a hotel. He was like, go stay at this hotel. It's paid for. It's crazy. It's
just lining up. And so I went. I didn't tell my parents. I think only 2 friends knew I went. I didn't tell anybody. And then they sent me an acceptance letter probably like a month and a half later with a scholarship. I was like, okay, God, I'm moving to New York.
Okay.
So I already prayed the prayer to get there. And when I prayed that prayer, I was like, I kind of want to stay here, God. Like, this is what I planned. But he said, so you moved back to Dallas. I was like, whoo, it stung a little. I said, okay, I'm moving back to Dallas.
So with all the opportunities that you received in New York, would you say you receive it times 10? In Dallas, or how would you compare the two?
So I'll say this: working at the Black Academy gave me some amazing exposure to Dallas and to the Black art scene around the country.
Nice.
And so it really elevated my profile. And I realized that I had to go through that season to elevate my profile. It put my name, my face, and who I am in front of so many people that I could never have touched on my own. So I celebrate that. I think 3-year stint that I was their chief executive director. It really like it groomed me, and it really like put me in a place to where like I can open doors, and I can really like use my name and my muscle to open those doors. And I was just telling somebody this the other day, to be the big fish in a small pond is way easier to be than me, the little fish in that huge pond that's called New York.
That makes sense to me.
I would have still swam, but like it would have been so many other whales and sharks in the tank with me. So here, like being a pretty decent sized fish in this smaller pond, it really has allowed me to have some opportunity.
So I want to go into you mentioning Skyline earlier.
Yeah,
I've noticed that you give back a lot.
Yeah, I do. Like so. I love the kids. I love children. I love education. And being able to teach at Skyline for 4 years, teach theater to these students who, they're underserved communities.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to go to Booker T. Washington. I love Booker T. Washington High School for the Visual and Performing Arts. Love them. However, those kids don't need it. Those kids didn't necessarily need me, my face, my experiences. In that school, those kids at Skyline, they needed to see a Black man who had connection. They needed to see a Black man who's in the arts, and they need to see a Black man who was going to pull them. I have probably like 8 or 9 students that are in entertainment right now that I know of that are still, working in the business. And they call me all the time. They, text me, and I groom them. I walk them in any door I have. I walk them in. Yeah.
So with that being stated, talking about mentor and mentee, how important is that to elevate your career? If that's any type of industry, what does that mean to you?
So I think it's imperative to have a mentor, and to have a mentor that you trust, and have a mentor that's willing to pour into you and not see you as a threat. And then when you have that mentor, to not abuse that mentor either, though. Because so many times people who have mentors, they abuse the relationship for only what they can get, and they don't give anything inside that mentorship. So it's imperative to have a mentor. I have a theater mentor, I have a business mentor, and I have a a financial mentor. I have 3, and I call them for different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I call my business mentor, like, listen, I have this problem right here, or I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And she'll be like, let's talk that through. I'm like, okay.
I like it though, because it gets you to think. Because sometimes I know I'm very impulsive. I'm like, hey, I got this idea, y'all. What y'all think?
Right.
Actually, don't tell me because I'm gonna do it anyway.
Right, but do it anyway, right?
So I want to talk about that with feedback.
Yeah.
How important is it to receive feedback and then also apply it? Because you can receive things all day.
Yeah.
I think about that with affirmations. We can call ourselves amazing, great, this, and that, and then be rude to the next person that won't pass you.
Part,
So what does it mean to have and receive feedback, then also apply it?
Yeah, so, I mean, you have to be open to feedback, honestly. Like, so people can tell you that shirt looks great. The shirt looks great on you. If you don't think it looks great on you, you're not going to be open to accept that. And you're like, I hate this shirt. What are you talking about? But if you ask them, what do you think this shirt looks like on me? Then you have to be open to receive that feedback. And so many times that we listen to respond and don't listen to understand. And then with that, I can write that down. But in that mentor-mentee relationship, you should really listen to understand. And like, I don't always take all the advice of my mentor, but I definitely do put it in the back of my brain. And, I do file it away just in case. I'm like, well, you know what? They did say, okay, I see but let me maneuver it this way. And then because they don't always know the full scope of the picture that I'm trying to get to, but I do take the bits and pieces that work for me.
Like you said, write that down. That was good. That was really, really good. Okay, so I want to get into a couple of questions when it goes into the film industry. I know for me, who did I see talk about this? They were like, TV and film is great, but as far as an actor or actress, when they go into Broadway, they really get challenged with their acting skills. So with you being already in theater, any type of challenges did you receive, and how did you use that as like a learning lesson to only get better in your craft? Yeah,
so I love that because a lot of film actors can't do theater. Because we can yell in film, we yell cut. Okay, so you didn't do that line right. So here's what I need you to do. So try it again and use this emotion, or hit this word when you say that, or pick up the cup here, and then do it again. And so that whole moment that just happened is in the trash. Now in live theater, like, you have no cut. You can't say go back and do it. No, in that moment, if that cup falls on the ground, you have to figure out how to go pick up that cup, still say your line, and get back to where you're supposed to be, because that set probably is about to move.
Right.
And if you don't be in the right place, if you're not in the right place, then boom, you get hit. Or anything could happen. Like, so
that's where they have the keys.
Yeah. They have the tape on the floor. That's spike tape. Yeah. So it's so funny to watch a lot of film actors who try to do theater. And also film is just like right here because it's only this angle. But where theater is, you have the whole stage. So you have to fill up that whole thing. So for me as a producer, I'm walking that line, which is very interesting because theater and film are 2 different production worlds. Where I know theater is we have a crew, we have a pretty big crew, but with film, you have like people who are like literally like holding the sound boom. You have those who are pressing the button. Like, you have so many different moving parts and then like you also break down film completely different. In rehearsal for theater, it may be 6 weeks of rehearsals, whereas in film it may be 6 weeks of shooting. And so you rehearse before the scene. You shoot in this house, and then you're done with this house. You skip all over the script because everything you need to do in this house needs to be done in 2 days because you don't have it booked for 2 days. And then you have to go to the park. Exactly, because it's all about budget. And listen, a low budget versus a mid budget versus like a high budget, like it's completely different worlds. Yeah. So it's really about, but like in any industry, you have to realize that, where am I in the scope of things? And then like, how do I pivot and adjust? And, is this too big for me? Is this too small for me? Or am I comfortable in this moment?
Okay, speaking of moments, you have a list of different people that you have worked with.
I have. Oh, I don't even know some of these people. Well, I mean, I can't remember. I know them, but I can't remember. But yeah.
I'm only going to name 3.
Okay, let's go.
Because it's a long list. So I'm going to say Diane Carroll.
Oh, my God. So that was one of my most iconic moments, to be able to escort her in when she got honored at the Black Academy.
Oh, so you escorted
like literally, like so funny story. Diane Carroll was on my arm. I walked her in. I think at this point she was probably like 75. And so she's a tall lady, very regal, very still beautiful, like beautiful at 75. She's on my arm and she's like literally holding on to my arm to stay standing. And so she walks in, everybody's like, she walks in the room, everybody stands up and starts yelling and screaming. And then so she moves her arm and she moved from my arm, she does this and hits me in my face to wave. And I'm like, Diane Carroll just hit me in the face. Okay.
I'm gonna go with it.
Right. I'm like, I'm not gonna react. It was Diane Carroll. What was I supposed to do?
Right.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Whitley Gilbert's mama from a different world.
See, okay, her. But mine, well, I grew up on 5 Heartbeats.
Okay, yeah.
I love that part, baby, when she smacked Greg.
Right, exactly.
The little toothpaste started doing it.
Yep.
That's when I was like, oh, she's just so classy.
She is. She's a class act for sure.
But who else did we see? Legacy.
Yes.
Fantasia.
Yes.
Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Yep.
I said I was only gonna name 3, right? I'm on a roll.
Okay.
Who else was it? Miss Ruby D.
Yes. Oh, Ruby D.
The
mother of Black entertainment.
Yes. Okay, I'm stopping there.
Yeah.
I want to know, when it comes to being from small towns, we can all relate to this. And being now in front of stars that we see on TV, because I'm not going to lie, I'm still trying to learn how to navigate in front of celebrities when it comes to me interviewing. So I want to know, when you have those opportunities with working with them, I'm a professional, you are not a star, we are all humans. What does that look like for you to like kind of bring it down to where at the end of the day, we have to get this project done.
Yeah.
Anything else has to go out the door.
Yeah. So I think like Miss Carroll, Miss D, there is an air of reverence that you give them just because they walked in the room and you're breathing the same air.
Right.
Period. But it's also a level of professionalism that they bring out of you too. And so it's like you work harder to meet that expectation. And then it just becomes just a natural, because they're regular people like you. Malcolm Jamal Warner grabbed my arm at time. He was like, "Yo, bro, get me out of here and keep walking." He said, "I want you to just keep walking no matter what happens." And like that's what I did, because if he was there for us, and like the crowd was just like literally like the ladies were tearing him apart. I'm like, "He Theo from the Huxtables."
That's the first image I get.
Hey, Theo, right. I mean, but so it's really, you realize that they're normal people just like you. I'll never forget, I was working with Erykah Badu on her show. I can't think, it wasn't Badu Wisdom, but she did a one woman show. Oh, it was called Naked, I think, or something like that, Nudity. And so I arrived on the stage, she's already there. And like she was like in her zone, and I was like, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to like get her out of her zone. I don't want to be rude, so I just stepped back. And she was like, "Brother King, how are you?"
Love it.
And I was like, "I'm good, Miss Badu." And she was like, "I'm excited about today." And it just like literally, I was like, "She's regular, just like us." Yeah. So I learned at that moment, like, you don't want to be too common with people. Like, "Yo, what's up?" Like, you're not friends like that.
Right.
But you can treat them like they're a regular person. They're not on a pedestal, that kind of thing. Now Miss D is gonna be on a pedestal. I mean, even in death, she's still on a pedestal. Miss Carroll on a pedestal. Period. Point blank.
Cicely Tyson.
Pedestal. Yes. Pedestal.
All right. So now, since we got to know you a little bit more, and now we're going to get into the storytelling portion of the podcast. And this is pretty much the highs and lows, if that's life, if that's business, whatever you want to share, right?
Okay.
So let's get to the highs first.
Let's go.
Anything where you're like, "Dang, Jiles, you did that. Pat on the back. Hoorah, hoorah." What would be something you would be able to share today?
Yeah, it will be last February. Not last February. So in the pandemic, I said it was right at the height of when George Floyd got murdered. Not killed, but murdered. And it was the Black Lives Matter movement. Everybody was protesting. I was like, artistically, how do I put myself on this moment and say that I have a comment, and that Dallas and the Black community has a comment on this? So I was like, So these pop-up museums are a new thing. Let's create a pop-up museum that's dedicated to Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
And so I've never done a museum. I've never created a pop-up anything. I'm not that kind of artist. But I was like, I'm going to do it because that's what I do. I'm a cultural curator and I'll figure it out. So I legit found like 8 people and said, hey, I have this crazy idea. You want to go on the journey with me? And they were like, sure. So I was like, okay, so these are the 8 rooms I want. I want one dedicated to Black hair. I want one dedicated to Black excellence. I want one king and queen room. I want an HBCU room. I want a dream room. I want an Africa room, and I want a America under construction room. Oh. And so we created all of those rooms in a span of like a week and a half, and we opened it February 1st, and it was so dope. Oh my God, it was such a dope moment.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it was stayed up all of February, even through Snowpocalypse Dallas.
It was a long time.
Right. So that happened right in the middle of it, right around Valentine's Day. And but still, like the people who got to see it, they were so. It was just to watch people go through their museum. Yeah. They were so proud to see their culture represented in excellence. At the HBCU room, people were like, they were writing their HBCUs like on the board. We had a chalkboard, and they were like, shout out to Clark Atlanta, shout out to Paul Quinn, Prairie View, and then even those who didn't go to HBCUs, I was like, yo, write your PWI there. If you're part of a sorority or a fraternity, put it up there, like show that you were here. Yeah. So it was just, I think that was like most recently the high that we had.
I want to kind of tap into that a little bit.
Okay, let's go.
I want to know the information selected as far as intent for the museum. Like you mentioned, you had those 8 rooms. Yeah. How did you choose? Because we have a lot of history when it comes to just Black people, period. Right. We have a lot of history. So what, as far as your intentions of using those particular information that you were selling during the museum, the information?
So it really was twofold. One, what's going to resonate with our people? And 2, what's going to be Instagrammable? Because the goal of the museum was to be an Instagrammable museum where you can walk in each room and have Instagrammable moments. And so you could take a piece of this and it'd be a whole photo shoot. A little girl, for her, I think it was her 8th birthday, she came to the museum and did a photo shoot in all of the exhibits.
Wow.
Yeah, so we wanted to create what's going to be Instagrammable, but what's also going to resonate with people. And so somebody was like, oh, you should do Black inventors. We get Black inventors all the time. And that's great to have Black inventors, but I think really like to have a old school hot comb with an old school stylish chair, like that kind of thing. It was so many people like they would pick up the hot combs and it was story after story. Like my mama used to burn my kitchens. I used to have to hold my ear. Yeah, exactly. I remember like waking up in the morning and my mom on Sunday morning, my mom pressing my sister's hair while she's still asleep. So it was just all the what's going to spark those conversations and be impactful. So that's how I really chose those days. And I was just talking about like next year's museum in February of 2022. Like, what are we going to do and how are we going to elevate? Because we already set the bar. We have to keep kicking it up every time.
Keep going up now.
Right, exactly.
That is so lovely. Okay, so on the other end of it, we also have lows.
Yeah, buddy.
And I don't like saying failures. I always call them learning lessons.
For sure, they were.
So let's talk about a low that they kind of questioned your path. You were like, dang, should I be going this way? Am I choosing the right route? And then how did you push through? Because of course you're still here. You're still doing what you are called to do. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I produced a festival of plays. It was called Stage Black, a festival of new plays. Got writers from across the country to come in and submit their plays, and then we produced them. And I did the first year. Boom, sold out, success. I mean, people were talking about it. People still talking about it. So I was like, okay, cool. We got a momentum. Bam, 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 bam. Did it the second year. I lost my shirt. I self-funded this all out of my teacher salary at Skyline. And when I tell you, like, it, for some reason, the marketing didn't click. The timing was wrong. And I know what happened. It really was, I think I rested on the year before. And I wasn't as hungry as that first year. Because that first year I had something to prove. You know, it was like, it's my first time out the gate. I got to make sure it is popping.
Right.
And that second year I was like, oh, we good. I could take a little money from marketing over here. I could do this. We can kick back a little bit. Nah. And I legit, like, I'll never forget it. The last show, I paid all the actors. I paid all the crew. And I'm left, like, with nothing. I'm talking about, like, my account empty. Like, I was a teacher, so no check until, like, a couple weeks later. So I was like, yo, I can't do this again, like, at all. That was a hard. I remember sitting on my balcony, and I was like, it was all dark. I didn't cut any lights on. I was like, we're not coming back here again. It's not going to happen. And I was like, I'm not going to beat myself up over it, but I'm going to learn from this moment. And that was really what pushed me to go to Columbia.
Really?
And that's when I was like, I've been doing this by the seat of my pants. I want to go learn how they do it.
Okay, that kind of sparked another question. So I hear a lot, this is probably really political, but I hear a lot of people saying, you know, us Black folks need to support our Black folks and this, and that. Nothing wrong with it. But I feel like outside, we have allies that have more resources than us. I want to hear your standpoint of just learning from everybody and then bringing it back to your community. Because as I mentioned, the people that we see on a daily basis may not have the information that we need to elevate. Like you mentioned, that's the reason why you went to Columbia. So I just want to hear your standpoint of, like, I can be in Dallas, I can be in Atlanta, but for me to go to that next level, I need to be in Columbia. Yeah.
So it's true. So I believe that we can support Black businesses all day long. I believe in supporting Black businesses and giving Black businesses the support that they need.
That's the difference.
Right. That part. But I also believe that that there are resources outside of the Black community that can really get you to another level if you choose to do that. I had a goal. So I wanted to, right out of Morehouse, I wanted to work at a white theater. I wanted to then go teach school. And then I was like, okay, now I went to a Black school already. Let me go to a white Ivy League school in New York to learn how they produce on that level. And so I wanted to learn, like, how a small professional theater company that was part of Equity Association, which is the union for actors, how they operated at the base level. Then I went to go work for a Black theater and saw how they operated at the base level. Then I went to teach because I wanted to learn education because I wanted theater school. And then I was like, okay, I got all this. I'll stack the deck here. What's next? Columbia was next. And when I tell you, like, I was taking classes with Broadway producers. I was taking classes with Broadway finance people, Broadway marketing. There's seriously a marketing campaign that my class created that they used and they made money off of.
Where's my cut?
we saw the advertisement. It was in our advertising class. We were like, that's what we designed.
Okay.
Like, y'all, what? but literally everything we create for them, they can have. So, but like those opportunities, even the point, I would have never worked for Disney. Never got in the door. But my professor made a call. He was like, Jiles, you want to work at Disney? I sure do.
Okay, who says no to Disney? When they're knocking, I'm like,
he was like, let me call the president of Disney. I'll send him an email. Shoot me your resume. And I was like, okay. Then when I got there, Mary Poppins was in the theater downstairs. Lion King was a couple blocks over. Newsies was opening in the theater back there. And then people don't know this, but Sister Act is a Disney property too. And so Sister Act was over there too. And so like I would legit just like bounce from theater to theater when I'm supposed to be working.
But it was good for you to see behind the scenes.
It was good for me to see behind the scenes. It was good for me. So I've come from a small nonprofit world. Like the biggest budget I probably worked on was probably like $1.2 million. $1.7 million. So yeah, but over a year, like that was small. But when like I'm working at Disney, they make $1.7 million in merchandise.
Makes sense.
In a week. And that's on one show.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I'm like, these budgets are different.
Different scales.
Right, different scales. I was just like, oh, that's just in selling T-shirts, cups, mugs, and blankets. You making $1.7 million in a week. on the road. So, but it was seeing those perspectives and then coming back home and being able to pick and choose. Okay, I saw how they did that there. Boom, let's do that. Mm-hmm. Or I saw how this theater did that. Okay, so let's try some of that. Mm-hmm. And really being able to pull those moments that work. Yeah.
I love that. So everybody, do not be scared to just go out and find different experiences. That was my whole reason of asking you, because you went from state to state, but then you still came home. Like that was the same thing with me. I went to TSU, had a great time, but I had to come home to now do what I'm doing.
Right.
If I didn't listen to God, I'd still be out partying and doing too much. But it's all about having new experiences and meeting people.
Right. Can I say one thing though?
Yes.
While I was at Columbia, I was still authentically me. When I tell you, when they say, hey, so tell us about you, Jiles, I said, I want to produce Black work. And I was unapologetic about it. I was still the militant Black person at Columbia that I am today, that I'm still want to produce Black work and Hispanic work and those underserved communities. That's the stories I want to tell. I don't want to do reimagined Greek classics. That's fine, but that's not what I want to do. And so while I was in those spaces, I still was myself. I didn't become somebody else. And I think so many times we get in those spaces and think we have to change or we have to assimilate.
Yes.
And I'm all for code switching. I code switch with the best of them because that's how you get indoors.
Right.
However, comma space, I'm still gonna be me, and I'm still gonna tell you, like, even down to like this. I don't feel the equity in this room. There's something going on, so I'm still gonna be me, but I'm still going to get everything I have to get.
Okay, so I'm kind of scared to ask you this question because that was pretty much the answer to this next question.
Okay.
I was going to ask you, what is one free advice you could give somebody that's in theater that, let me just piggyback on what you just said. If it is a troublesome to be around people who don't think like you or don't act like you, because I have moved to a different state or I have moved to a different country. How can I stay true to myself? Because you being pressured by, that's what you want to do? That don't sound good. And I was like, dang, is this really what I want to do? Right. So what does that look like to stay true to yourself as advice?
I'll tell you, it's not an easy road. It's not an easy road to be the lone voice in a room where people don't understand. It's not an easy road to jump up and go to New York and you probably know one person in that whole city.
Right.
But you have to look at the reward outweighs the cost. And the level of contacts and experiences. I've probably seen more Broadway shows in my life than people see, than 10 people together ever. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying those experiences for sure. Yes. So I would tell you, keep pushing. Like fight for what you want. And then once you fight for what you want, continue to show up. And that doesn't mean walking in the room. It means being present when you're in that room. And I used to tell all my students, stay in the way. And they were like, what does that mean? It means whether you're a tree number 2 or you're the lead actor, that you need to be present every time you hit that rehearsal room, you hit that stage, that you hit that bathroom, you hit that parking lot. You need to be present because that's what makes you get remembered. And then even on your corporate job, like I promise you, like when you apply yourself and be present, that's when things start to change. That's when true. You're like, I want this job, I'm gonna sit up here on the internet, I'm gonna eat chips all day. Then you're not gonna be rewarded, and it's not gonna be worth it for you. Now at that point, you're literally monkey number 3. But if you were the best monkey number 3, putting that widget together, then people are gonna start noticing, like, man, you do a great job on that widget. Actually, can you train these 7 people how to do the same thing? And then boom, boom, boom. It's a ripple effect. So stay in the way, be present, and then fight for what you want.
Simple. Just those 3 things. I love it. Okay. So what is next on my list? This was just so good.
It was fun. It's fun.
Okay. So upcoming things. Tell the people how to get in touch with you, website, upcoming plays, all that good stuff so they can support you.
Yeah. So I just wrapped the film I was working on called Recession Proof.
Okay.
Khadijah, I can't think of Khadijah's last name. She's gonna kill me. But she was a producer and star of it. We had Clifton Powell, Rodney Perry, and some other amazing artists that were in that movie. So that's coming out soon. So look out for Recession Proof.
Nice.
And December 16th through the 24th at the Urban Arts Center, 807 Hutchins Road, Dallas, Texas, 75203. We will have an Oak Cliff Carol.
Ooh.
So it's an Oak Cliff version of a Christmas Carol. It's kind of my theme. So, it's going to be a dope urban musical. We have some dope beats. We have some dope singing, some acting. So if you're looking for something to do with the family, grandma can come, little niece can come, and they all can enjoy it for sure.
Love it.
Yeah. And then the museum is coming back.
Okay.
February 2022, the museum is coming back, Black Experience Museum. And so if you want something cultural to do for Black History Month, we're almost out of COVID, hopefully. Definitely come through and take experience at this Instagrammable museum. So if you want to follow me, you can follow me personally. It's Jiles with a J. Jiles.King on all social media. And then you can also follow Urban Arts Center, which is our theater, follow Urban Arts Center. And then we're on Instagram, Facebook. I think that's it. And then you can also follow Urban Arts Magazine, which is the magazine we have as well. So you can follow us and definitely let's have a conversation. Just don't hit follow. Like, let us know you're there so we can say hi.
Please don't be a ghost.
Yeah.
I mean, be involved in it.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
All right, so we always end our conversation with a motivational moment.
Okay.
I'm going to do yours a little different.
Okay.
Usually it's a scripture, a quote, or last week we did a song,
Okay.
which was so cool.
Okay.
That's what made me motivated to do something different this time. So, when you are in the process of creating a new project or you're just getting that inspiration, what do you tell yourself before you get started that this is what I need to do, this is what I need to get started on, or you just to get that motivation, just to get that one step in front of the other?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think because I'm a church boy, it goes back to scripture. It really is, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And it's that really makes me push. And that level sets everything.
Nice.
It was like, okay, so failure's not an option. I can do all things through Christ. Yeah.
That's it, Jiles.
Yeah, that's it.
This is it. I am so thankful for you. This was a great time. Did you have any last words? Do you feel like I forgot anything?
No. I just want to say thank you so much for considering me. Thank you for having me on the show. Like, this is dope. This is fun. It felt like I was talking to an old friend.
And that's from my heart. What we said before we press record, I wanted to just be a vibe and we just have a good time. Right. And y'all see, we got the couch. Shout out to Java Lounge. We are here.
I'm getting me some coffee before I leave. I am.
Make sure y'all come out, Camp Wisdom, Java Lavender Coffee Lounge. Come through. I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, for connecting us.
Ashley.
And if you're listening to this morning, noon, evening, or night, you guys have a great one. And thank you again for listening to What's Good Podcast. Deuces.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Boom.